curious when we're going into Bristlecone Pine Forest. I don't know how this is going to turn out. This is a little campground, dry camping area, right at the turn on 395 and 168 when you turn to go to the forest. Pretty little place, treed in the woods.
Camping fee in September 1997 is $5 a night. So.
But it's dry camping. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's just a really pretty. Well, this is the road to the Bristlecone Pine Forest. It's not really what you'd expect of a forest trail road, but we climb from 4,000 feet to 10,000 feet for the first 15 miles behind us, and this is what we saw. It is just incredible. Isn't that beautiful? I didn't think these are Bristlecone pines because they don't look like what they sell in the nursery. Evidently they are.
They got little pine cones all over.
Yeah, rosin-looking little pine cones. We're going through some heavy-duty mountain areas here. Well, we have stopped. Chuck has to have pictures of these flowers. There's just cushions and pillows of these beautiful little white flowers. Well, we are really starting to get into the heavily forested part of the park.
We just passed 7,000 feet.
Just past 7,000 feet. And all the slopes now are just covered with these young bristlecones. Now, what the book said, or what the paper said, the ones that are down on the slopes like this get more moisture, their conditions aren't as harsh, and they don't live to be so
not as long.
They don't live to be as old as the ones that we're really going to see. Okay, this is a little bit different that we're coming up on now. This is more flat. We're only at probably 8,500 feet, so there's a bit yet to come. But Chuck says, "Oh, we got to turn. Here we go. We're turning."
Pine Forest, White Mountains Research Station.
Okay, so this is where we're headed. Let's see the sun there. Okay. This is getting a lot denser now. We're actually into the forest boundaries, past the checkpoint station, pay station.
There's also a lot of junipers here.
A lot of junipers, yeah. The darker ones are the junipers. The lighter colors are the pines. But it's getting really thick in here now. Well, now here's a beautiful sight for you. We're probably close to 9,000 feet up, and there's the mountains looking over the forest. Just gorgeous. With the radio in the way. Well, we're just jump shotting from one beautiful scene to the other. It's not going to have a lot of continuity, but all these flowers again along the side of the road in among these beautiful old pine trees. Well, there's a good cutaway. 8,000 feet now. We only got 2,000 more to go. Woo-hoo.
We're probably 8,500 feet. We're pretty close to the top, but this is a beautiful view looking to the west, and it out over the valleys and the mountains and what the forest is all about. I don't know, just everything is so breathtaking.
Well, you're probably tired of me taking pictures of Chuck taking pictures, but I have to show you what he's taking a picture of. I'm going to pan around. I mean, if you thought that last mountain view was something, you should see this one. It's like you are on top of the world. It is just absolutely incredible. There's no way to describe it. I may be going too fast, but
You are going too fast.
am I? Oh.
But go back.
I can't hold this very still, but I wanted to show you where we come from. And I'm going to pan back slowly so you can get a feeling for how high we are and where we've been. Ain't that great? Look at that. Ooh, love it, love it, love it. Some camera, huh? Wonderful.
What we're looking at is Bishop from up here, the little town where we're staying, but just puts it into perspective of how far we've come and how far away and how magnificent it is. Betty did this pan a while ago, and as you come across and look at the tops of all these peaks and all these mountains, and the East Valley, this is a dry lake bed that's in East Valley. Trying to hold the camera still.
We're just now coming into the area of the ancient trees.
We're actually inside the Bristlecone pine forest. We're above 9,000 feet right now.
Although these guys, these are the younger ones. These probably are only 2,000-3,000 years old compared to what we're going to be getting into. But aren't they pretty? Just absolutely awesome. Just follow all around here just a little bit. This is not like what we've seen before. The trunks are big and they're more contorted, and
the smell of pine, when we get outside, the smell's like cutting brand new lumber.
Yeah, the smell is wonderful. These trees are very resinous and the odor just permeates the air like you wouldn't believe. I'll just get a little bit more here. Some of them are dead and dying, and you can see the old twisted, contorted.
The young ones have the shiny trunks. They're the really young ones. We're picnicking under this big old Bristlecone pine right at the visitor center, and it's chilly. It's probably 55, 60 degrees out. Of course, Betty doesn't have anything on. She's looking around, looking at the trees. But we were hungry and decided to eat before we headed on tour. Ancient bristlecone pines have a special look. Spiky dead tops, bare wood on limbs and trunks, distorted polished limbs and exposed roots, thin strips of bark growing up the tree. Yet the trees growing near you have a different look. These bristlecones are in a sheltered location, normally thought of as good growing conditions. They are tall, full, and upright. But these youngsters just don't live as long as the ancients. Their wood is softer, making them more susceptible to insect invasion and disease. Look at the hillside in front of you. These bristlecones are growing on a poor site, perfect conditions for old age trees. The slope is steep, exposed, and the soil is very dry. Yet this is where we find the old, majestic, weathered trees.
Of the many scientific wonders found within the Inyo National Forest, one of the most amazing is the ancient Bristlecone pine forest. I'm reading from a brochure. Located between 10,000 and 11,500 square feet in the White Mountains, east of the Sierra Nevada. These trees, Pinus longevica, are the oldest known living trees on Earth. Here in the White Mountains, the ancient trees have survived more than 40 centuries. We're in the ancient forest, but here's an example of a really young tree. This one couldn't be more than, 100 years old. But look at it, it's thin, it's got growth all the way to the sides, no indication. Each bristlecone pine, from young seedling to ancient relic, is an individual character. Young trees are densely clad with glistening, needle-covered branches that sway like foxtails in the wind. With their bristled cones, dripping pine-scented rosin on a warm afternoon. Well, this is typical of what a trail looks like so far. This is an incredible old tree. It's almost dead. On the right side you can see a little bit of the new growth just sticking out one limb, and coming on down you get this incredible root structure that's been exposed from the erosion of the slope, all gnarled and twisted. Beautiful. Thin, clear air and crisp ultraviolet light drench the high altitude and arid slopes where the bristlecone pine makes its home. At this high elevation, one has the impression of a lunar landscape. Pan around a little bit more. Not too fast. The trees manage to survive in the poorly nourished alkaline soil with a minimum of moisture and a 45-day growing season. In fact, the tree's longevity is linked to these inhospitable conditions. The aged tree's tenacity to maintain life is impressive. While most of its wood is dead, growth barely continues through a thin ribbon of bark. See it going up to... When all life finally ceases, the snags stand like elegant ghosts for 1,000 years or more. They continue to be polished by wind-driven ice and sand. The dense wood is slowly eroding away. Did you get this one?
Yes, I did, all the way up, honey.
No, this dead one, because this is...
No, I didn't get the dead one, but I'll do that.
That's part of what I was talking about.
This is one of the dead trees that Betty was talking about that stand for 1,000 years after they die. No telling how old this tree is.
Honey.
I'm going to swing over from a different direction than Betty is taking pictures to show the other side and what the literature talks about as being the prime habitat for the trees. The side is very severe and where it's not protected from the winds and where some of the oldest trees live. They really like this type of habitat versus the lusher side that Betty and I are walking on.
Oh, I just couldn't resist taking a picture of this one. It is so different, so beautiful. You can really talk about being in awe and humbled by 4,000-year-old trees. Wow. The point I'm trying to make here is that we're trying to take pictures of looking up on some of these slopes that are just incredibly steep, but most of the good stuff is up there. But we're on a really narrow mountain path, and this is down, and this thing is steep, and it's very narrow. So we got to be very careful. This is an example of one of the trees that is dead except for the small ribbon of life growing out from the side. This is how they maintain the life. They just shut down the rest of the tree, and the little bit that's growing is to sustain the whole thing. But it's just been sculpted into beautiful shapes. This one must be really ancient too. Dr. Edmund Schulman, a scientist from the University of Arizona, had been examining tree rings in a study of past climate. In an effort to extend chronology as far as possible, Schulman traveled throughout the Southwest in search of old trees that would provide a sensitive record of climatic conditions. His investigation led him to the White Mountains and the astounding discovery of the great age of the Bristlecone pine. Schulman Grove is named in memory of this dedicated scientist. That's where we are. The trail we're on is the Schulman Grove.
But what I'm trying to do is show some of the youngsters that are living, the ones that have the shinier, younger trunks and that are probably only a few hundred to 1,000 or 2 years old, and right next to some of these really old granddads. This is only like 30 feet from that area where that really old tree was. But that was what I was trying to show, because you can see the trunks, you can see the trees, and you can see the area, and you can see the contrast between the old and the young. Betty's fussing at me because we've been traveling, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. We've only come a half a mile. This is stop 4. And what I'm doing is swinging around here to this tree to show what it looks like. But this is a really old tree. Well, there's my sweetie sitting on a bench at stop 4, just fussing and fuming and throwing a hissy.
Do you know what time we started?
What time is it?
It's 12:15.
12:15. So like I said, we started 11:30, and it's 12:15. So 45 minutes. We've only made this, but we, as always, stop and take a lot of pictures up front. We're always glad we did, and she's glad then in the long term that we did when she looks at them later. Well, I was trying to get her to come along and get her butt in gear, but she had to do her niceties, which she frequently does, probably clean her glasses and put some chapstick on and get all comfy again. But that's fine. I love her anyway.
What?
So It's
I had to change glasses.
okay. I knew it was something like that. So anyway, I'll walk around me.
I can't get around.
This is looking east out into the valleys of the White Mountains and at some of the forest.
That's one of those jays.
Betty's listening to a bird call.
Even along this high mountain trail there are beautiful little flowers. What I'm trying to do here is show you the bristles on the bristlecone, the thing that gives it its name. Down underneath each cone are little thorny bristles, and they are sharp. And that's where it gets its name. I'm going to try this. This is a beautiful old tree that just has a little bit of live growth. There's the top of it. Well, I don't know how much time. This shows we don't have a lot of battery life left, but this is beautiful. Chuck's trying to get pictures of the roots, but look at this thing. Isn't that incredible?
This is an example of what some literature was showing of a blown down dead tree. The center area is what they call center rot, but the density of the tree rings is such that you really can't even tell that there are tree rings. They're so tightly compacted, and this is a tree about 18 to 20 inches across that's probably 3,000 years old, something like that. But it was a good example to be able to show some of the manifestations that are described in literature. This is an area alongside a fallen dead tree where a lot of pine cones, several hundred, have collected, and obviously is a place, probably a feeding place for birds and little chipmunks. There's many hundreds, thousands probably of little chipmunks, and Betty has seen gray jays, the same birds that we saw in Yellowstone. We've seen other little chickadees and the mountain chickadees, but you can just imagine that animals use this as a smorgasbord to come and feed at once these things start popping open and the seeds are accessible.
Oh, this is just too good to pass up, this view. We're about 1.25 miles, I think, along the trail. It's so spectacular. Out of breath, too. We keep going up.
Well, it's about 15:01, and we're not nearly as far along as we thought that we would be on this trail. So we're going to hoof it a little bit until something real dramatic comes up. Well, this is like a lone sentinel on a point here. Don't have any idea how old this old tree is, but very gnarly, very wind blown, and obviously very old. Just surviving and clunking along. Talk about the old with the new. You got that really old tree, and then this little shavetail right next to this very old tree, just growing out of the rock, just as if it's as happy as a clam at high tide.
Below, you can see Methuselah Ridge, where you will travel through a forest of ancients. Does that mean we haven't seen the ancient ones yet? My God.
This is a different type of plant. We just are in a different habitat from what the Bristlecone pine is. And these are very interesting trees. Having a clue as to what they are. And maybe even these mahogany trees. So this is a dry lake bed, probably 40 miles off in the distance. It's very dramatic, very interesting. We're on a different part now. I'm going to walk along the pathway a little bit because I'm not afraid I'll fall down the path, but it's interesting that there's more sagebrush and different trees, different smells, little birds. Very interesting. Betty's taking a picture of that dry lake bed, and so she's coming along the pathway. And
there's another one of these little trees.
Yeah, there's a beautiful one down here, Sugar. I'm going to swing around to it. bunch of little critters in it.
Plant communities is the title of this area. Botanists group plants into communities based upon their interrelationships with one another. 5 major plant communities occur south of White Mountain Peak, which is where we're looking now. Included are shade scale scrub, pinyon juniper woodland, sagebrush scrub, bristlecone pine forest, and alpine fell fields, which is alpine tundra. Are you getting the mountains too?
Yep.
That is remarkable. Just remarkable. Well, we're about halfway. Getting tired. It's been a tough trail and we've stopped a lot to take pictures. This is a little bit different area. It's kind of a scrub area. Scenery's different. It's really very pretty, but different. We're headed down into the ancient forest right now. Eventually.
This is the trail where we were about an hour and a half ago, way across the valley. This is the area they call the Forest of the Ancients. So these are probably some of the older trees in the park. In the beginning. So it's hard to tell which is which, except that they're just all really very, very, very old looking trees, and it's just I don't know, almost a religious experience to be in amongst them.
The remaining thin strip of bark connects the roots to the branches and produces new growth downward in a pattern similar to the slab type found in some tree trunks. Eventually this creates what are called buttress roots.
This is a dead tree, but it's absolutely beautiful. Well worth a picture. Betty, I call my attention to this one that we just passed. Looks like a piece of beautiful beach wash driftwood. Instead of just the roots of a beautiful old tree. Looking back down the trail now from where we come, and getting some of these majestic trees. Betty's heading off down the trail. I'll have to hustle to catch up with her.
Well, now we're down into the Forest of the Ancients. Any one of these trees could be the Methuselah tree. They tell us in the booklet that they don't identify it to protect it, because that's the one that's been identified as 4,700 years old. All of these are just enormous and old, and who knows? Who knows? Oh, this is just... Had to get this one. You talk about the Valley of the Ancients. I mean, this is it. This is absolutely incredible. I'm going to expose it like this, and then I'm going to go to automatic exposure and see what I get. This is phenomenal. Just one huge ancient thing right after another. Now let me go to the other. Oh, I think that's going to be too dark. That looks really dark through here. I think I like the other one better. Again. Yeah. I'll pan around again and we'll see what we got. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
We call this the...
Look at this guy. Now that could easily be the Methuselah tree too. Wow.
Well, we're farther along the trail. Don't know how far, but it's interesting. I'm going to put that back on automatic exposure. Show the difference. That's interesting.
There's
Backlit.
a big difference in there.
Yeah.
No, I don't do the backlit. I do the...
No, I know you do, but that's fine. This shows the difference. Looking back on the trail and then just panning up mountain, which obviously these very, very old trees, this is a habitat that they like a lot.
You just can't believe what you're walking through. This is just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Some of this old stuff, I'm going to move over a little bit. There was one. No. What I'm trying to show here is this little tiny seedling that's growing next to this ancient old tree. I think that's the smallest seedling that we've seen. I hope it comes out. Here's this ancient tree that's right next to it. Pan up a little bit. Not too much. How about that? How about that? And Chuck's going on back down the ridge. Just another big, huge, old tree. Tricky path. Tricky path. Still real steep. Narrow. Kind of a cliff face. Kind of interesting. Instead of trees and hillsides. Hey, baby.
I love you, I'm tired.
Chuck's examining one of the really old trees. He says sap's coming out of it, but that's the rosin. That's one of the things that makes them so long-lived, is all of that rosin. Pan up a little bit. Well, this is another one that's at least 4,000 years old. This could be the Methuselah tree.
It's 2:45 now for almost 3.5 to 4 hours. And both of us are tired as the dickens, but it seems like we just can't get enough. It's just so overwhelming. We're anxious to get back. We had to stop and rest here in this really high altitude. Your heart rate really gets picked up in a hurry. Both of us are panting hard. We're looking at the trail that we were on about 45 minutes ago, back on the other side of this valley. Okay, we just came out of the forest, the valley. Going by, honey. Or whatever. Yeah, just going by.
We should be able to make better time.
Yeah, we should. Anyway, well, we're at 3 miles, finally, and it's 2:50. And and we're at post number 19. And post number 19 says, limber pines do not hold onto the needles as long as the bristlecone.
Limber pines, which you're looking at now, do not hold onto their needles as long as bristlecone. Limber pines must produce enough energy to replace a quarter of its needles every year. But bristlecones only replace 1/20th or 1/30th every year. Not only does bristlecone have to produce less energy to guarantee a good needle supply, but the older needles are better adapted to survive periods of drought.
Betty is stopped next to a limberback pine, and
Soft needles. Bristlecone needles are real stiff and heavy, and these are real soft and fine. And the pine cones are brown instead of purple. The new pine cones on the bristlecone are purple. We'll try to get that later.
Betty's got her a new white hat that she's wearing. At this altitude, there's a lot of ultraviolet solar rays that are very damaging. So both of us are trying to be real careful and cover up well and to protect ourselves. So. It's a lot of contrast, filming Betty in the sunlight with me in the shade. Betty stopped at a post to read some details that are in our brochure and also to rest. Seems like this trail just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Betty says we're in pretty good shape, but for a couple that are 62, but this is ridiculous. The tree that Betty's next to is a real example of 80% of the tree being dead, and the part on the left that still has greenery on it is what's still growing and alive. Betty told me a while ago and fussed at me because I stopped and took that last picture.
Look at the trail.
And then all of a sudden the trail changes and it's sheer and
on both sides.
Well, it's 10 after 3. We just passed the 3.5 mile mark, and this is the view. We've been headed up for the last 45 minutes, it seems like, and both of us are panting like we can't catch our breath at all. Okay, I'm automatic, and it's not nearly as acceptable this way. I'm going to do the backlight. No, backlight's not good at all. Automatic is better, but manual exposure by far is the best to give us the best picture. So we'll use this as a little example of shooting. We're close to the end, both tired. Betty says do it quick. It's just a beautiful tree. So it won't take a lot of time.
Well, we keep saying we're not going to take any more, and then we run across something that's even bigger and better and more beautiful. This one we had to stop. We're almost back, but this thing is just magnificent. Look at that. Wow. Wow. I'm doing it again on the regular automatics feature, just to compare.
Can you get the whole tree?
No, I have to pan it. It just looks like a lightning might have split it or something. No, that's okay.
Just past the last milepost.
And we keep thinking we're almost there, and it keeps going uphill.
And the last mile and a half have been all uphill. And
that's the hard part.
I'm having a really hard time with it. Betty's doing fine. So, but anyway, we're almost there. Pull your hat back so I can see your face.
Last stop. Last stop.
Yeah, well.
All right, let's go.
So I can see your face. Okay. Now give me a big smile. Trying to get this sign. This is a 4-mile sign. And we're almost there. What? Keep to the right? Oh, this is our junction, baby. Where you at? Okay. This is where our junction is.
Last mile and a half was a killer.
All this today was sit around so both of us are looking at the camera.
I can't hardly move, I'm
yeah,
so
sure
tired.
But it's been wonderful. We left at about 10:30 or whatever. The video will tell us exactly what are you doing?
I'm trying to keep the sun out of my face.
Oh, whatever. Okay. But we took a nice still picture, and now we're doing a video. And it's sort of, now that we're back and we're
Wake me up when it's
our
over.
thirst is quenched and slaked and whatever, we can head on down the road and back to civilization. But has it been worth it?
Oh yes, oh yes. I
But
want to do it again.
4 1/4 miles over hill and dale.
There's still one more grove to go to, the Patriarch Grove, which is at 12,000, 13,000 feet, something like that, and takes as long as the other one, as this one. But we sure have to rest up first.
Well, we're headed back down. There's all these switchbacks that we're encountering. Betty's driving and I'm filming.
You getting this one?
But yeah, I'm getting this one. And it's coming around and coming around and coming around and coming around. And makes you dizzy. We're partway down and we keep commenting on these beautiful yellow flowers along the roadway.